Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show. Now, on this week's show, we're going to kind of delve back into the Caterpillar a little bit because there's been a lot of discussion on the forums and some comments on the videos that I've made that with the guns, or the supposedly the guns on the front of the Caterpillar being now decorative or possibly changed into something else in the future, that the Caterpillar has lost some firepower, that the Caterpillar is undergunned. Now, at face value, I would say that the loss of those quote-unquote guns at the front has, diminished the Caterpillar to a certain degree. In the eyes of someone who might be looking at, well, I own a Caterpillar, I want to fly around in a Caterpillar, this diminishes the ship for me. It would appear that way. At face value, I would say that it would appear that way. But one of the things that, for me, when I'm looking at the Caterpillar and when I'm thinking of the Caterpillar, I'm thinking of it more in terms of a vehicle for not just myself, but my org members, So that kind of changes my perspective on the Caterpillar, somewhat, and on its armament, because I'm not just looking at it from the value of, say, like the turret underneath or the turret on the top, but I'm also thinking of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, possibly 9, 10 dragonflies that this thing will be carrying in the future. So that's actually quite a bit of armament. That's quite a bit of firepower for a ship like this to have. Now, some people might say, well, it helps if you have the people to man all those ships, but I'm pretty confident that I do. I've talked about this before, but the org that I'm a member of, Scum, we have a fairly strong cadre of dedicated players, and I mean mostly right now because quote unquote Star Citizen is busted as shit. We've been playing a lot of GTA together, but working together in that game just in the last week has netted me just over $6 million in games, so that leaves me kind of set for the next DLC in that game. But when I look at ships like the Caterpillar, I look at it from a group play perspective. I look at it as a vehicle not just for myself, but for the entire org to make money and to share in profits, which kind of works to our entire philosophy. So not having those two front guns, obviously it's a disappointment, but it's not a game changer. It's not, something that, breaks me. It's something that I look at and I just go, oh, well, I still have plenty of options with this ship. And it's something that, into the future, as more and more ships come online, I'm definitely going to kind of start looking to, once things start to count, once things are for real money and once we're really playing, I'm going to start looking to source the right personnel to kind of man my ship. But, it's a little too early now. Now, I thought a bit about rovers, and I think I accidentally said Argo instead of Ursa, but I was kind of looking at the possibility of, putting a couple of Ursa rovers in the front of this thing, and then dragonflies for land-based operations. But some of the videos that I've seen of some of the Evocati, or, some of the videos hilariously say, well, I'm not an Evocati, this is just standalone, so don't yell at me in the comments. But, some of the videos that I've seen of the Caterpillar, I'm not too sure that there's all that much room for an Ursa rover or two inside the ship. I mean, I'm sure you could kind of maybe squeeze one in here or there, but then getting it off of the ship and then getting it back onto the ship, those are things that you really have to think about. And you might be able to kind of park it in sideways or kind of work, this way or that way. But one of my concerns obviously would be to be able to deploy troops quickly and then either retreat or just to make it easier for troops to kind of get off, so not worrying about, an Ursa rover kind of having to go cut back and forth to get onto the elevator and then load into the front or into the side. Those are considerations that I also take, or I also, think about. So I'm not overly disappointed in the fact that there aren't ramps on the ship, as well as in some of the earlier concept art you saw ramps, so an Ursa might have been more usable there. But also, in terms of space, in terms of the cargo that you still want to have enough space on board to take whatever you're stealing or liberating if you're a more legitimate player. So I think that dragonflies are more or less the way to go with this ship. So I'm glad I got the one with 2 dragonflies that came with it, and I'll possibly, once we start earning real UEC in the game, I'll have to look at acquiring a full load of dragonflies for this ship, just to equip the crew members who get on board. But yeah, even though those 2 guns aren't on the front anymore, I'm still, or it's debatable that they ever really were guns, but I'm not disappointed. I'm not overly concerned about it. So I'm still, very excited to play with this ship. I'd love to be playing it right now, but unfortunately, that's just not in the cards for quite a few of us still. Hopefully before Christmas, but then again, I am going away for the entire Christmas week, so I don't know. I would love to fly around and at least get out a video exploring this ship for myself before the Christmas break comes up, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see how the testing goes. But I'm pretty confident that they'll give us some version of it, even if it isn't, considered a fully functional version. It'll be like 2.0 at the end of last year, when we more or less just got a basic version, and then a better version came up right after the new year. We got, what was it, when the Vanguard was finally released in hangar, and we got the basic version of the baby PU, and then once the new year kicked in, we got a whole bunch of improved quality of life improvements and game improvements, and then we were able to move forward with that. So I think it's probably going to end up playing out the same way at this point. I just can't wait to get my hands on this ship. For a long time I was very tempted by this ship, and I feel that it was probably one of my better purchases now. Looking at the roadmap into the future and all the things that we're supposed to get, this very much seems to kind of key into all that, with planetary landings and all of that, and with piracy coming, official piracy, real piracy. I'm very, very excited to get my hands on this ship. So, yeah, the loss of those 2 guns, not that big a deal to me. I mean, other people might feel differently, but to me, I'm not really that concerned with it. Now, one of the other things that we saw in the in RTV was the sort of somewhat reveal that there was going to be another space bike. Now, it can be argued that, adding yet another vehicle to the concept ship lineup is unnecessary. We have so much already and so much to get done, but in terms of space bikes, that doesn't concern me as much as, say, making a whole new ship, because one of the things that has been kind of exemplary, but at the same time very disappointing about the Dragonfly, is that, the Dragonfly was concepted and sold in June. And then we were seeing in the Homestead demo, we were seeing, rideable Dragonflies in August. Now here we are in December, and here's the disappointing part, and we have still not gotten our Dragonflies, even though we've seen them, going all the way back to the summer. We've seen them more or less finished. We just haven't gotten to play with them, which to me is somewhat nonsensical. But then again, we've also been playing 2.5 for how long now? Waiting for 2.6 and 3.0. So I think that, 2.6 and the amount of time that we've been waiting for this patch has been holding us back from this ship. Now, hopefully, they're going to squeeze this into 2.6 as well and just surprise us. But I don't think so. I think they're probably going to wait for PlanetSide and 3.0 for that. But still, we've seen how quickly they can put a space bike together from concept to the finished thing. And so I would, now that we've seen the width and breadth of what procedural planets can do for us and the environments they can give us to play in, having a little bit more variety in the space bike arena is probably something that is a good thing, and something that whereas the Dragonfly can be argued to be somewhat utilitarian, as a two-person vehicle, maybe we can have, say, a stealthier one-person bike or a faster one-person bike, or maybe a much more heavily armed space bike, but everything working in that same sort of size and scale. Just hopefully in the future they'll be able to deliver them a lot faster, but I think that the 2.6, all the problems that have come along with 2.6 and getting that patch out the door has really kind of held this thing back for so long, which is kind of tragic that it has been arguably playable and finished for so long, yet we haven't been able to to get on it and to ride it, which it's one of my biggest disappointments. But overall, a new space bike, I'm all for it. More variety, more stuff to play around with, especially now that we've seen these planetary environments, and now that we're starting to come to grips with all that could entail in terms of gameplay. I mean, from my perspective, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, well, if I got a Caterpillar and I've got a load of troops on board with space bikes, I could possibly land them, several kilometers away from an objective and just deploy this sort of like fast recon squad of bikes out towards an objective, and then just kind of either join them and just leave the ship there, or kind of hold that as a base and then move up closer to the base once they've taken it, to help them, kind of steal the goods, load them onto the ship, and then fly away. These are the things that, I'm now starting to take into account and now starting to think about when I look at the ships that I own and the things that I want to buy, or the things that I have, and when I'm looking to consolidate out of certain ships and then move to what I feel that the main focus, the most useful ships are going to be. These are the things that I'm kind of starting to think about, and just the idea of cruising around in these planetary environments. Sure, it looks like fun, but there's also gameplay considerations, which personally, I love to kind of sit there and just let my imagination wander and say, what could this be like? What could that be like? Is this going to be important? Is that going to be important? Is this kind of like superfluous, or is this going to be something that's necessary? Those are the kinds of things that I love to just kind of let roll around inside my head when I'm thinking about Star Citizen. And so, yes, more space bikes, definitely. I'm all for it. I'm not overly concerned in terms of time lost producing these assets, because as we've seen and sadly not seen with the Dragonfly, it can be done fairly quickly, and the end result has so far, they're 1 for 1 in terms of space bikes. So yeah, I'm very excited to see which direction the next space bike goes into. But overall, hopefully, please can we get 2.6 before Christmas. Anyways, that's the show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.